Are you ready? I'm going to take that as a yes.
Yeah, go on then.
Okay, so we're back for another episode, but this month is going to be a bit different, and I don't know if this is going to be a mistake, but I've got my mum with me. This is Penny.
Hello.
So this is going to mix up a bit. I'm just currently, we watch a lot of films together, so instead of talking about them without it being recorded, we're now recording it. You have listened to this podcast, haven't you?
I have.
Yeah. So you know the system. So obviously we just go through everything that's happened in this month. So obviously, like I said, August 2024. We'll start with some trailers, then we'll go to films, and then we'll talk about TV shows and any other gossip or news that's happened in the film.
Am I supposed to watch some of these films?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Luckily, I've taken you to the cinema quite a few times this month. So that's the rundown. And then, it's just opinions and updates and the stuff you've told me that I didn't know. So that's great. But first of all, I don't feel like you've seen any of these trailers that I'm going to go through.
Okay.
But this month, I feel has been a bit boring. Like we both discussed, there's not a lot. There's not a lot of TV shows, and there's not a lot of massive films coming out. And I think August is always a bit of a lull because you're then going to have like all the autumn TV shows and films kind of building up for Halloween or Christmas. So like you kind of miss that out. But yeah, anyway, we have had a few trailers. So what's happened is there isn't like an actual trailer out yet, but coming to Max, as it's called, little like teaser trailer has come out of all the things coming out in 2024 to 2025, like early, as loads of little bits of like been released showing what's coming out. So there's obviously little bits about the Doom TV show that they've got, and then The Last of Us, there was a tiny little snippet as well. So like we're slowly getting bits, and obviously there's a new series called like The Industry and such. So that's the only thing why it's kind of gone back into the news at the moment. Okay. They wrapped a while ago. The buzz is starting, so I think it might be coming out early next year. The Heretic trailer also came out. Okay. Which I'll just get it up because it's got Hugh Grant in it and it's a horror.
Oh yeah, I have seen something about it. Yeah.
So that it looks really interesting. It's coming out on the 22nd of November.
Is that a remake? Sure, there's been a film called Heretic before.
I don't know, but it is about two missionaries, and they knock on the door, and then they go inside, and they kind of get stuck, and then it's by A24, so if a horror has been made by A24, it's going to be good. Like think Midsommar and all of them sort of films.
Obviously,
anyway, I just think the Hugh Grant is what's got me. I think it was just interesting. Also, yesterday, the Apartment 7A trailer just came out.
Yes, Olivia. That's very exciting. Tell everybody why.
Okay, because it's not like the biggest thing, but like I worked on the reshoots.
Yes.
So I've worked on it. I have read the script. I do know what it is. Obviously, the main thing that's out is that it's a prequel to Rosemary's Baby, and it's a very similar vibe, but at the same time, I would say they've definitely made it a bit darker for the modern audience. So there's a lot in it that's very similar but refreshed, if that makes sense.
Very proud.
Really amazing actors in it, and obviously amazing crew and set and stuff. And then other than that, until we talk about D23, which we'll talk about later, there isn't actually that many other trailers that have come out.
No.
Like that's kind of it. So moving on to films.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's been really disappointing. We've gone to see 2 films in the cinema.
We have.
And both we didn't feel were good. If that's the right way to say it. I think
the fact that we used a different cinema that had reclining seats was probably the biggest talking point.
Yeah, so
both of them.
So where we live, our Odeon is getting revamped. So like the cinemas literally only have like 16 seats, and So it's really hard to get 2 seats together and it not being sold out, especially when it's like the first day of a screening. And then our local View is also doing a half and half. So they're really not like, they'll only show one thing like once a day now. And then the local cinema, which is our like little local that I have talked about on here before. I was like, cinema.
Yeah, it's a good little cinema.
It is a good little cinema. It's very, but they don't always get in the big films straight away either, because I think I don't really know how they do it, but they've only got three screens and that's it. So they don't really, and also they're a national theatre partnership, so they show a lot of stuff like that as well, don't they?
Yeah.
So one screen's always like showing a random art house, and then the other two will just play what they think. So at the moment, I think I saw It Ends With Us, and I think they'll still
Andre Previn.
What?
Andre Previn they're showing.
Is that it? Oh god.
Yeah.
Do you know what I miss about Dear Cinemas? They don't do the signs on the top anymore. Can you remember? Used to like, they still had like the signs that like with the letters and numbers, and they used to like put it up properly so you actually saw, and it would have the times that they were on. Now
the little posters are just really little by the side, and you have to go up to the actual cinema to see what's on.
Yeah.
Unless you go online. Yeah.
What's your name?
Lily. You?
Ryle.
The first film that we saw, which came out on the 9th of August, was It Ends With Us. It's starring Blake Lively, Justin Baldwick, and Brandon Scalar. It's made by Sony Pictures and Columbia Pictures. I've known about it for a long time because I read the book. How many years ago? Like 3 years ago?
Yeah.
And I remember Justin announcing that he didn't buy the rights, but he kind of did. He bidded for the directorial rights. And I was very excited at first because I remember him putting up things on TikTok being like, I'm listening to your suggestions, everyone. The book itself is very controversial. I wasn't really happy with it just because I went into it thinking it was a romance, because that's how the book's kind of designed, and there's no trigger warnings or warnings at the beginning. And obviously it's actually about a DV situation. So the film is about Lily, whose father has recently died, and she's opening a flower shop, and she kind of meets this guy, and we keep going back to her youth, where she's got this other guy in her life called Atlantis.
Yeah.
And now she's got this new guy called I forgot the names of Riley already. So it's like this kind of like, it's kind of like a weird triangle, but it's not. It's about her past relationship with this guy when she was a teenager, the current relationship, and also kind of her relationship with her dad. Her dad was abusive towards her mum, and at times her, and then she ends up slowly in a DV relationship herself. For the film, that's all I can really say. The book, I think, is much deeper than that. Obviously, it's about her and her being strong and her getting out of this, and also how easy it is, and that people think being in a domestic violence situation is weak, and it's not. Like it's people can get in these situations because it's not always like a 50-year-old women like being slapped when their husband comes home because of the football games. That is a thing, but it can also happen to quite young people. And obviously in the book, she's fresh out of college. They've aged them up. Anyway, have you got any solid opinions straight away?
About the film?
Yeah.
Well, straight away, within like, I was saying I'm bored.
Yeah.
And all I kept thinking was, it's another lovely shot of some lovely trees.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand the florist shot because the flowers all looked dead. There was no colour in there. It wasn't full of pretty blooms, not like on the poster that they used.
Yeah.
But the DV, the domestic violence stuff was very clever because it was filmed at the beginning in such a way that it looked like it could have been an accident.
Yeah.
Sorry, or whatever. And it wasn't until it...
Yeah, I think it was... They tried to do it in a way that was like gaslit us as well as her. But I don't think it then showed the extent of how you can forgive someone and how you can kind of chalk it up to something. He's only done it once, it's that sort of scenario.
Yeah.
So
I personally think it's been done better.
it has been done
Sleeping
better.
with the Enemy is the classic example. That
Well,
really did make you feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable. He was very abusive and right from the beginning of that film, you could see how scared she was. The towels had to be straight in the bathroom, and it was a real, like, coercive, controlling relationship. This one didn't show enough at all. It just didn't. It was so wishy-washy.
Yeah. It was really trying to make itself a rom-com, and I think when you are making something along them lines, you really need to commit to it. I was just going to refer back to, I always kind of come back to Maid, because that came out in 2021 on Netflix.
Seen that,
So good. Like, the portrayal of it really does show how it can take women a couple of times, and men. Like, but this story was primarily about a woman who had a little girl, and how she kind of gets away from this man, and for a long time she keeps saying it's not domestic abuse because he doesn't hit her. He does everything else. He financially, mentally, like the way he talks to her, he takes away her car, like he really isolates her, and it takes her a few attempts really to realise what was going on with her and to get out. And I think I found it a beautiful story. Like, it was, the way it was portrayed was so well.
In the book, does Lily feel isolated? Because in the film she wasn't isolated. But to be fair, in the film, anyone would think that she had no friends until this other woman turns up to work in a florist asking for a job.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, it's like she had nobody else in the world. But you said in the book she does.
There's definitely adaptation issues with this, and obviously, I've just finished my master's in adaptation theory and narrative theory, and I find it's very hard to say it wasn't translated correctly, for example, just because they are two different mediums. But this is where I think it's more to do with the commitment of the core of the story, and if you can change the core of the story, like them aging her up, that's one thing. That's, you have to then rechange the core of the themes and attitude towards what is being presented. But it felt so restricted. So in the book, she is definitely has other people. Like, when we first meet her, she's in a flat or a house or something with her roommate, and her roommate's a bit weird. Like, they're not like best friends or anything, but like, there's other people in this story. Like, you meet other people, and like I think there's, like, when you go back to her youth, like, friends that she has and stuff like that. So yes, when you then make it into a film, I fully understand cutting characters, but then you have to do it in a way that doesn't isolate the characters and make it feel really unbelievable, because you're right, it was like she had no life and no friends, and
she had nobody until this woman walked in.
No,
and she met this bloke.
Because that's the thing, I love the
roof.
woman in the book, because I think she wasn't a snobby rich, because they weren't a rich family. Basically, she married someone who then got really good at some software, and he got rich. So it was like they've just happened to get rich. It's not that they've always been rich. So that, like, even that in itself, like in the film, I felt like it was this snobbiness. And again, because they're younger in the novel, like the main characters are all about, I think they're all between like 23 and 27. So he's a training doctor. And he lives with his sister, and that's kind of more the reason why.
You mean
Riley? Yeah, and that's more the reason why they all kind of end up as like a force in friendships. And like little things.
But
like
in
that.
this one, he's a fully blown neurosurgeon.
Yeah, he's just a fully blown neurosurgeon.
Yeah,
and like his backstory was correct. That, like, but I just think there was a lot missing. I think my point was, it's definitely not a good film, which was upsetting, because Justin Bullwhit obviously was the director, and I do quite like his stuff. I think he's an amazing, not only actor, director, but person. Like, he speaks up about a lot. I do remember, like, he does a podcast with his wife, and throughout the years he spoke up about male violence and female violence. Like, he spoke out about a lot, and I think he's very open-minded, and so I think that's such a shame. And in a way, I think this whole drama that we'll get
post-drama.
This drama that we'll get to in a moment, I think in a way has backlash so much. And even though it seemed like everyone, at first, I remember saying to you, it seemed like everyone had unfollowed him. So at first, I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, what has he done?" And now it's kind of gone the reverse, and it's, "Oh, he's been basically bullied, and everyone's gone with the mean girl to take their side." It definitely gave me Amazon Prime film vibes.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the biggest, it wasn't very well done.
I mean, I was just fidgeting in my seat, and I didn't really get it. And it sounds awful, but I didn't really rate Blake Lively. She just didn't.
She always plays a similar character, though.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. She just didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't fall in love with her as a character. Atlas, I did.
Yeah.
Especially young
Even
Atlas
that,
and old Atlas.
But even that upset me because I think we needed more of him. We needed more.
Yeah, and I think his story when he was young and his story when he ends up coming back into her life was a little bit not confusing, but because they had to keep interjecting with a bit of narrative so that eventually by the end of the film you caught up with what had happened to him and why he hadn't seen her all these years and stuff. And
because I don't feel like they even really explained it very well, because in the novel, I think I told you, in the novel he gets kicked out somehow, ends up somewhere, and then he comes back and sees her for a bit, and then he ends up going to live with his uncle, and then he ends up in the army. So they end up just losing contact because of that, and she doesn't know where he is. She obviously just thinks he's in the army, not really sure. And obviously they both just happen to still be live in Boston and bump into each other, which I think is beautiful in itself, because that was a dream that they had together. And again, even that I think was missing in the film, that this was both of their dreams, like the Better in Boston vibe, and it's a whole metaphor in it. The other thing that I know you've talked about and a lot of people have made fun of is the costumes. They were awful. Like, what?
When she was on the roof, she was wearing like a boiler suit. And I thought, she just finished work or something.
The thing is, a boiler suit can be great, but it's the way you style it. And I think it's just...
But it wasn't styled, it was just a boiler suit, as if she was just doing some plumbing in a flat. And
do you know what the thing is? The ironic thing is that it was, apparently, a lot of it was to promote her new hairline. And I think her hair looked awful half the time.
The only time it looked nice was in one event that she took. This is what I kept saying. I just didn't get this. Yeah. That she turned up and she had this gorgeous dress on, gorgeous shoes, and then she had this old bag lady coat over the top. Everything she wore, it was this old bag. Because at the beginning, I was thinking, is it Atlas's coat that he'd left or something? And she's sentimental over it, but no, it was just.
No, we've discussed this, and I found out it is. Someone said it is, but again, it wasn't ever addressed. You never really noticed him in the outfit. But apparently, if you look at when she first meets him, it is the coat.
Oh, I would never have got that.
No, you would have not got it at all. That's what I mean. It's ridiculous.
Why was it referenced? Because surely, if somebody had said to her, "You're always in that coat. Why are you always in that coat?" But it was never.
I think the thing with the costumes is it just was so not for her character. Like the outfits looked ridiculous, and you could tell it was from a rich LA woman. Like,
really?
Yeah.
Well, she has no taste in clothes then. She went along with the polka dot top and striped bottom scenario, which
awful.
I don't get. So.
Anyway, so aside from that, there obviously was a lot of PR drama that has become quite famous, so it's not really anything that we can really hash over too much now. But Blake Lively, I think, has had to take a step back because a lot has come out and people have realised that she's basically a bit mean and a bit nasty, and I think always treat people with kindness and be open, but there's a lot of videos now coming out of just interviews with her not being great with people. I know you've seen some, not being nice to people, not talking well about people, and even clips of them being filmed by behind the scenes, and she looks aggressive the way she talks to Justin.
But then you've got Justin turning up, going home to Sweden where his wife comes from, and just casually going into a cinema. Oh my God, it's showing the film. Yeah. And he went in and he spoke in Swedish to them all about domestic violence. Yeah. And, this is what I want you to take away and support each other and stuff. And he did it in an American cinema as well. And she didn't even bring it up. It was all flowers. The flowers weren't even in the blooming film. They were all dead. Because I kept saying to you...
You really hated that florist.
It's supposed to be a florist?
In the book, I do remember she had like a unique style with her florist, but I don't remember it being
dead
like
flowers in this
that.
one.
You think it might have been a metaphor? You feel like it might have been a metaphor or something. But it's not just that; it's little things like the fact that on Justin's Instagram, he clearly had the helpline for DV, where on Blake Lively, it just directed you to her hairline.
She put it on eventually, though.
Yeah.
She did put it on eventually.
But it was the way every interview, like, have you seen the interview where she's like sitting quite comfortably on the sofa and they say, "Oh, what would you do if someone came up to you?"
No.
And she's like, "Share addresses. Like, what do you want me to do?" And I'm like,
I know.
that is so dismissive.
And again, going back to Sleeping with the Enemy with Julia Roberts, when she was asked that question, she was very serious and she said, "I've not had the experience, so I would not be able to give any advice. But you know, there are helplines and that." And she took it really seriously because it was a really serious subject.
She's just amazing as it is. So I think it's definitely down to directors and actors and how they interpret things.
I do feel sorry for him because I don't think it's turned out how it.
No, I think
that's the impression you're getting. Is what it was is in his head. It's not, especially when you're now seeing the original poster versus the poster that was used that Blake Lively wanted with just her name on.
I know.
And yet the poster he wanted had him on it.
Yeah.
And she looked a little bit intimidated by him in the poster.
I know. The thing is with Colin Hoover, she has been controversial for a while. I can't fully. It's just the way that she advertises her books, really. Like I said I read End of Us, and I thought it was going to be not a comedy, a romance, and it obviously wasn't.
I remember you saying you threw it across the room. You were so annoyed.
I have read It Starts With Us as well, so I have, and I didn't really feel like we needed it. But you've read Verity, and you liked Verity, and that's apparently getting made. But a lot
Please
of this,
don't ruin it.
I know. A lot of this seems to kind of stem from her because she's taken not exactly Blake Lively's side, but from gossip and from what people are saying, the reason that Justin cast himself in the film might have come from her.
Yeah.
And I think that even in itself, when it's a bit, it wasn't ever Justin's idea. And like I said at the beginning, he did so much on TikTok and stuff, like saying, "I'm looking at your fan castings and I'm taking it all in," and then he just completely ignored it all. And I do not think that was his what he wanted to do.
He doesn't come over like that.
No. And obviously Blake,
I mean, obviously we don't know because persona and everything, but he doesn't come over as an arrogant, "Well, I'm going to be the star."
I know, but obviously because Blake apparently then went in and became a producer, she kind of ended up with the role. And anyway, it's all very.
Have you seen all about Ryan Reynolds might be in trouble because of the writers' strike and the date that he's saying that he made the alterations, and it was in the middle of the writers' strike, so now they're having to say, "Oh no, he did it in April." And apparently, Justin didn't know, and he's the director, so he should have known if there was alterations. But apparently, Justin's saying he thought she outlived it. He didn't realise Ryan Reynolds had changed anything.
So basically, it's either they making out Ryan did it and he didn't, or he did it throughout. The thing is, I understand.
Or he did it during a writer's strike.
Yeah, but this is
bearing in mind they're probably
thing.
all working in the writer's strike.
Yeah,
we're really honest.
You can't stop a creator from creating. No. It's just they weren't publishing or giving it out. But he's not exactly a writer that was dying to write that scene.
He's in the union thing and that. Because he's written
I think he's also
Deadpool and done stuff and got credits on stuff like that. So he is.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it is sad because I think it's pulled him down a bit. Obviously, I not to keep saying it. Obviously, I work in the industry, so you do hear things, and I think it's a 50-50 with him. A lot of people say he is actually quite nice to people, and then some people can say like he can be a bit, if he's direct and he can be a bit hot-headed. But as someone, I fully can understand that. Yeah. It's like I overheard someone saying. About Tom Hardy, for example. "Oh, he has so much coffee. It's a nightmare." Like, what? Is that really an issue?
Coffee.
I know. Well, that's what I mean. Like, people always try and say rumours about. I remember, like, when Johnny Depp, the whole thing with that happened. So many people then jumped on the bandwagon and say, "Oh yeah, he's awful to crew and cast." Now suddenly they've changed their tune
because he isn't.
No, he isn't.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next film that we saw, which came out on the same day, which we were trying to do as a back-to-back, never happened. So we've only recently watched it. Was Track, which is a M Night Shyamalan. What? You're so upset over it, aren't you? Right, let me just get it all out. So it's a Warner Brothers film by, and it's been directed by M. Night Shyamalan. It's a Warner Brothers film. It's got Josh Hartness in, that I know you quite like, Alice and Phil, and I've kind of said Ariel Dong-guan, can't pronounce her last name, very apology, because she was the young girl who plays Riley. So anyway, the plot kind of is about these father and daughter who go to a concert, and then there's a slow build up to realise that it's a trap, quite like the name, for a serial murderer. Turns out, this is in the trailer, so I can say, turns out that the main guy, who is Josh Hartness, is that serial. He's called the Butcher, isn't it? That's the name for this murderer.
And they found out he's got a ticket.
Yeah, they found out he's got a ticket, so the FBI are trying to catch him basically at this. So they're like profiling all the male dads and all of that because they fit the prescription, and obviously because it's like the kind of artist who's called. I have to get it back up. It was like Little Bird or something really random, isn't it? But she's clearly meant to be like an Ariana Grande sort of character, singer. Lady Raven. That was it.
Yeah.
It was saying Lady Raven. So it's all kind of set in there. I think the main issue that me and you had with it, well, number one, I'll say this, is I felt it was a bit too long. It kept like feeling like, oh, this will be the end, and then it kind of got extended, and then, oh, this will be the end, and then it got extended again. But as a proper concert goer who has gone to big gigs, little gigs, all the gigs in between, it was the most unrealistic gig ever. It was so weird.
First of all, I do want to say I'm a huge fan of his.
Yeah.
Right from Sixth Sense, Signs, every film. Unbreakable, every film he's ever brought out I've watched. And this one disappointed me. Yeah.
He's an interesting director, really, because I find that he is he's not on the same he is on the same level as like David Fincher, but he doesn't get the same amount of funding as David Fincher. And, and I find that interesting, and it's like, what is it about him that a lot of production companies won't like fully invest in? Because I would say this was a big,
but he gets big actors, so it's not even that they're like small budget, nobody knows who's in it type films.
No. So there's a lot of scenes, for example, where the guy who's called Cooper will leave his daughter, which is fine, you can leave your daughter at a concert, I guess, even though she was only like 13, to go to the loo, quote unquote. And he'll just go out, and there'll be so many people in the hallways, like people buzzing to get t-shirts, drinks, all of this, and like, so every time he goes anywhere, there's just so many people.
It was busier outside than it was inside.
Even though every time we went inside, every seat was taken. Yeah. So it just made no sense, because obviously when you go to concerts, people do walk out because they go to the loo and grab another drink and stuff, but it's not heavy busy.
But usually at a concert, when you go to the loo, there's probably you in the loo. This was corridors chock-a-block with people, wasn't it?
Apparently the budget was 30 million, which I'm really shocked at. I thought it was going to say 10,
but
15.
All it was a room with a few chairs stuck out and a stage.
It was an actual
and a house.
Arena.
That was it.
But I think I said to you, my main issue was, I think we should have started at the family house of Cooper and his family, really maybe met his wife and stuff, and then gone to the concert without giving away the ending. That's kind of my main. I just think there was pacing issues. I just think there was issues with the characters. It wasn't,
because he was living two lives. That would have just shown how he controlled that family life, wouldn't it? Even though we saw that he was supposed to be a loving father and taking his daughter to this concert and stuff. The fact that he had a son and a wife at home, we weren't mentioned. We didn't know that.
Yeah, well, I think they said bits like, "Oh, your mother," but I said to you, even little things like, I think he should have been texting his wife the whole time to be like, "Oh, we're in our seats, we're all good," because that's the sort of thing couples do. It's just, the reason we do say this is just because the wife and the family kind of come into it later on, into the plot, and then the little Raven character, she was alright, but we've both said she's the director's daughter. and I think it kind of felt a bit like she was written in just for the part. I've looked into her. She hadn't really done any acting, but she's worked on a lot of her dad's stuff in other roles. So maybe that was the reason it got let down. But
She wasn't awful. She was good when she was on stage. But then when it all started getting a bit, he needed to get out of this theatre scenario, and that started involving her. That was when it started getting a bit.
Yeah, it was a bit.
Yeah.
We can't even say what it was. It was
No.
a bit like, okay. I've given it, I didn't say for It Ends With Us, but I think I've given it 2.5 out of 5.
What, Trap?
Yeah, and It Ends With Us, I think I gave it 2 out of 5.
Yeah.
So, a bit of a disappointment. And then there was 2 films that came out that we haven't watched. So, obviously more films came out. So many films came out, but these are the only ones that, not exactly worth mentioning, but on our radar, is The Crow, which came out on the 21st of August, which is a reboot of the original 94 film. No, yeah, 94 film.
Yeah.
It's got Bill Skarsgård in it. We quite like him. He's in it and all of that. So he's quite good at that sort of thing. And FKA Twigs, which I know you're going to be like, who's that? It was Lionsgate's film. It's not been getting high reviews. It's one of them films that I feel like comes out and no one really cares. It feels a bit.
It hasn't been anywhere. I've seen it on the side of a bus once.
I've been seeing it advertised. So the domestic opening was 4 million. Worldwide, it's about 10 million, which isn't bad, but it's not great.
The thing is, because they then end up going on to Prime and stuff later where you can then pay for it as well, that's when I think a lot of these films get picked up.
There's a lot of films that have come out this year that I really hope get a second wave when they come out. Apparently it was a 50 million budget. So now thinking about it, 10k is actually awful. It's 10k, 10 million.
Budget.
1/5 of the budget it's got back so
Crikey.
far. 50 mil, that is a lot, isn't it? Yeah, and then the other film that's come out is actually a Netflix film called The Union with Hailey Bailey. Halle Berry.
Is that like a horror?
And Mark Wahlberg. No, it's that. Like,
Because I've seen her advertised in.
It's that, The Union.
Oh, okay.
You went to make me watch it the other night, and I said no. It's like a comedy.
See,
it just doesn't appeal to me. I think it just looks like every
like
other
a
Mark
good horror.
Wahlberg. I only really like Mark Wahlberg where he's like actually kind of serious in like Instant Family. I love Instant Family.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a way of saying it, like where he's actually kind of playing it serious, but it's not a serious plot.
Yeah.
He plays a lot of comedy, I find, and Transformers and all of that.
Yeah.
Ted and Ted 2. Anyway, so yeah, going on to TV.
Right. House of Dragons.
House of Dragons.
Oh, House of the
House
Dragon.
of the Dragon final happened.
It did.
That's it. That's the end of that.
That's all you can say about it, really, isn't it?
It was a bit disappointing, but I think people are saying that it was 8 episodes rather than 10, which was a bit weird. It felt like it was building to another episode, but obviously it was just building to the next series. I just think the whole second series.
Some of the characters, such as is it
Rhaenyra?
Lacked oomph.
I know. They aren't. I think because they changed the first series so much for Rhaenyra and Alicent to be like best friends, which they're not in the novel. I don't know if they just didn't know what to do with them, which was ridiculous. Because like Rhaenyra, when she was younger, was a little brat. Like she was very up herself, and we would loved her still. But I think it's quite annoying that she then mellowed into this older woman who, some reason, like I don't get it. And also
doesn't even raise her voice.
I know. Don't get me started on Daemon. Like that's not my Daemon. How dare he leave his wife? He would never do that in the... Okay, he might have cheated on her in the book, but he would have left her side.
He's still a loyal husband.
Still loyal. Like, trying to make out that he was... That whole thing was so weird, and then there were so many scenes that I think people wanted to see, and then we just kind of didn't see it. A lot of characters felt one-dimensional. They're not committing to the source material, and I really enjoyed series 1 and little parts of series 2 because the source material is so basic. It's very like, it's literally just historical records that have been written into a novel. There's bits that are literally a line or a few lines that then get made into a whole episode, and I think that was what they did so well in the first series. So I think it was only about a chapter or 2 chapters that they kind of had to blend into first series. So they were able to give so much more dimension to characters, but then this series has come along and it feels like they just forgot all of that, missed characters out, blended characters together, and then kind of just forgot that these were meant to be the fierce, like, Targaryens. Like, these are Targaryens. Like, even when we watch Game of Thrones, like, they are in the Game of Thrones world. The Targaryens are still feared, even though they're gone.
Yeah.
They left such a reign behind them, and this is the height of them with so many dragons. They are meant to be so feared. And so the fact that these two sides kind of start fighting is so scary for the realm. And again, going back to the Rhaenyra Alicent situation, I think first series, then changing it to be them two kind of being friends and then becoming ex-best friends was fine. But it ruined it for now, because now it's the brothers versus a sister. And we have never had interaction with them. We haven't, honestly, if you rewatch series 1, they haven't said, like, Aegon and Aemond have not said one word to their sister, as in Rhaenyra, not Helena. Helena is amazing.
Yeah, it is a shame.
Yeah.
But I think the one thing we can take away is how amazing the dragons are.
Really good.
They were the star of maybe that's what their aim was.
Maybe.
Because they were the stars of series 2.
It's one of the things, like, you always want more, but then I understand budgeting as a thing, and, like, you know, we're not, and I think that was the issue. I think they could only really do 2 episodes that, like, obviously we've got a massive battle between a few of the dragons, and then that was kind of it. And then, like, I think that was kind of where all the budget went, and then, like, the odd dragon.
And then it ended with
we're about to go to war, but we haven't seen the war yet. Okay. All right. See you later. I really thought it was going to... This is a little spoiler if no one's read the books. You know this. I really thought it was going to end with Rhaenyra taking over King's Landing. Really thought it did. Because it was building up to it. And so that's probably why we're going to open Series 3. But I do want to say actors are always incredible. Always. I think they all are. They do what they can with what's given. Okay, Alison's become a bit of a wet wipe, but that's what Olivia had to work with.
She's amazing, isn't she?
Yeah, and Emma Darcy, amazing.
Yeah.
Like, their face card, as I've learnt the use of saying now, you know, when someone's face is, like, so pretty or, like, good and, like, picturesque. Face card? Anyway, great face card.
Hello? Don't hang up. Victor.
Ben, just listen. There's something happening to you. And it's only gonna get worse.
You're on pace to end the world in about 48 hours.
24, actually.
Now come on to this.
Going on to the Umbrella Academy. So that also came out a few weeks ago. Series 4 only had 8 episodes. Big disappointment. So upset. A lot of people really annoyed. I think it seems like it was really affected by the writer strikes. People are saying that's what it was.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it?
Because it just... Series 1 and 2, fine. You watched them, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Great series. Series 3, the sparrows and the whole... It goes a bit messy, but I think I would have been fine if Series 4 then did well, but it didn't. So it was like... So Series 4 of the Umbrella Academy, all the kids have now no longer got powers, and they're kind of in a normal world. But there's just so many things left out, like characters missing and things that are just never discussed again, and, you know, like husbands.
Sounds like Game of Thrones all over again.
So I don't know if, and I think I don't want to give away the ending, but I think it's so well known now that basically it's not exactly that they die, they kind of unexist. They just become
Okay.
they really put themselves into the universe for reasons. It's so bizarre. And it was so annoying, and I think even that in itself left loads like it just left so many loose ends because it was like, well, how are their kids still alive if they're gone and they were never a person in the first place? How are their kids still around? Like, see, yeah, you're like, it just made no sense,
No.
and it just really upset the fans. And I think with shows like this, fan service is such a big thing. It's like The Boys. Can you imagine if they were just like, when it got to the final series of The Boys, it was like, it was all a dream. It wasn't true.
Oh, God.
You would just be so angry. So I think they're the two main things that kind of happened in the TV realm this month. Like we said, it's been a disappointing month, and also it's just so quiet. I think we've both been watching Below Deck.
Yeah.
So we don't know what to do.
And rewatching Final Destination because they're bringing a new one out, which I'm surprised at.
I know.
Given how the 5th one ended.
Okay, so a big thing though that did happen at the kind of start of August. So the 11th of August realm, that area of that weekend, D23 happened. And you said you didn't know what D23 was.
No.
So D23. So you know how you get like Comic-Con, which are like massive expos?
Yeah.
So Disney started doing their own. So it's like their own expo. So it's kind of where they announce everything. And I remember on the last podcast, I said I was really surprised at how much they announced at Comic-Con because that's only like a week or 2 weeks before. So D23 happened. Okay. They have announced so much. But at the same time, it's all disappointing in a certain way. So Daredevil, Born Again, has been announced, which is a whole weird situation I found with the Marvel, because I really loved Daredevil. You liked Jessica Jones when it was out on Netflix. And it was, I think it was the Defenders that was the other thing that was like them all together with Luke Cage and stuff, like they all ganged up and had a series together. So Daredevil kind of got like sidelined. It like kind of just disappeared when Marvel kind of took it away from Netflix and they made Disney Plus. So all of them TV shows kind of got stopped. And there's been such a demand for Daredevil that they have actually brought back the whole of the cast and brought them back. And I told you about this because I was working with, I forgot his name when it got announced. I was working with the guy who plays Daredevil. I completely forgotten his name. Anyway, I'll just cut that out. So that's been announced. Then we have the Snow White trailer.
Yeah.
So you have opinions on that.
I do.
I have weird opinions on that because I think when it was getting filmed, it was I'm pretty sure it was at Pinewood that it was getting filmed, and it was like so aura, like there was such a big aura around it because so many people loved it and the costumes were amazing and all of this. And also, I don't know if this is common
Until
knowledge.
we all saw a picture of...
I don't know if this is common knowledge, but this set burnt down a few times. I don't know if I'm actually allowed. Well, I found it through the...
You should watch Get Shorty.
Mom, stop it. So yeah, Snow White trailer came out. Nick's terrific. There's been so much controversy around it. I think that's the issue.
Well, they bring out this photograph or whatever,
Yeah.
don't they, of Snow White with these
Men.
dwarfs or these, I don't know what, because they were men.
Magical beings or something.
That's the word.
Yeah, haven't they called them?
And I think then there wasn't just such uproar from the viewers, the people that are going to watch it, but the actors that are dwarfs that have not been able to give them.
Yeah, it's definitely taken away jobs from people. I think that's what's upset a lot of people because
the Willy Wonka film came out as well.
Yeah,
with Hugh Grant as an Oompa Loompa and all at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's why they were saying, hang on a minute, how come we're not getting these roles now?
I know. I think it's one of them scenarios where I think I'm always for someone, if a lot of people from that community say something, because me and you obviously, we can't speak on that community, but obviously people who've got dwarfism, if they are actors in their own right, these are parts that they like. I remember in the UK, obviously, pantomimes are a big thing.
Yeah.
And there has been a bit of an uproar over pantomime when they do Snow White. Apparently that's been something that's been getting cut because our local theatres don't want to be, they want to be PC. And then people who are acting, who have dwarfism, are saying, no, you're taking that role away from us, that's our job. So it's definitely it's a controversial film because of that.
But then what have they done?
And then it also got stuck in the whole writer's strike when that all happened, and Rachel Segler kept talking out, and I've completely forgiven her now. Because I don't know if you remember, she was like, she acted a bit like, well, you know, I deserve pay and all of this for what I do, and I'm in a corset all day. And actually, like, on reflection, I do kind of agree with her. Like,
But she also sort of dissed the story a little bit.
She did diss the story a little bit, but at the same time, she also has said that she adores Snow White. The amount of photos of her at Disneyland just being like, oh my God, Snow White. And that was before this whole scenario. And I think there's a lot that I just really like her as an actress. I think she's very lovely, and I think I've seen her from YouTube days to now. So, and then I think the press tour is going to be a bit of the reason I think is going to be a bit of a shit show is because Rachel Segler has been speaking out a lot about Palestine situation, where Gala Gadot, who we all know from Wonder Woman, has been speaking from the Israeli side. Which I know is like, we're not getting involved. This is not what we're discussing right now, because that is not, you know, we're not going into the politics of this. But it's definitely, from what I'm seeing of interviews already, they do not gel with each other. And I do think that might be a bit of a thing, because they are two completely different opposing sides at the moment in the world. It's a very heavy opinion situation. So I would not be surprised if a lot of the time we're going to start seeing them on the circuit, and she might just be paired. Well, Rachel Segler might be paired with the people who are playing the dwarf, and Gala is going to be paired with someone else, and they're not going to be paired together in the interview rooms. And then, obviously the dwarf situation is going to come up quite a lot as well.
Yeah, because how are these actors playing the dwarfs who have now sort of been made into cartoons as dwarfs?
I know.
Supposed to promote the film when they're
but I don't know,
5'10" man.
I don't fully know though, because the first photo that came out was on set, and people think it might have been leaked on purpose so that they didn't know it was going to be cartoons, or have they seen that backlash then decided to make it cartoons? I don't know. It's not an official thing, it's all theories. So obviously the dwarfs are now cartoons, which annoys me in itself, because why have you done a live action?
Why remake the film? I know. And it was the first ever full-length film Walt Disney ever made. Oh, it was what made him.
Disney.
Why remake it?
So much of all of this. Anyway, Moana 2 has also had a trailer come out, and that's coming out, I believe, later this year. One thing I'm actually a live action I'm actually excited for, and a lot of people are excited for, because they've had a few attempts to do this and it's never happened, is Lilo and Stitch, because I think there's room for it. I do think there's room for a Lilo and Stitch live action. I think it's one of them films that came out so long ago, and I think it's not... a lot of people... It's so beloved, but I don't think it's the biggest Disney film. I think all these Disney films getting remade, all these princess films getting remade, feel ridiculous. They shouldn't be touched. But the Lilo and Stitch, I think, is going to be an interesting remake, especially because there's so much material for it, as in there's other cartoons and there's other stories and stuff like that. So I don't know if it will be a solid comparison or if it will be just a new story, which is a live action. We've also got Incredibles 3.
Right.
Which I'm a little on the thing about as well, because Incredibles 2 was great, but it wasn't really needed. But
it's sort of been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, and then we've also now had Toy Story 5.
Yeah.
And I just think they needed to finish Toy Story. Yeah. I think, was it Toy Story 4? Even though I love Toy Story 3, Toy Story 4 was okay. Should have ended it there. But Toy Story 5, from the trailer, it seems like they're going to be, and I hate this in itself, are going to be dealing with iPad kids not playing with their toys. Frozen 3 has also been announced. Yeah, big tut for that one. Zootopia 2, which I'm annoyed at.
I could probably take that, actually.
I think it was
I can see how they could carry that on.
Maybe. It was so good, though. I just kind of didn't want it. And then a few they are still children-y, but not really, not all of them. we will say this, and then we are going to say the next thing is about the cancellations. We'll go on to that after this. But I do just want to say that Star Wars Skeleton Crew has just been announced.
Right.
Which is quite annoying because they've just obviously and also announced that they're cancelling The Acolyte.
Yeah.
Which just is ridiculous. They've announced Agatha All Along, but then not continuing a lot of other Marvel TV shows. Avatar 3, because we need one of them. Didn't like Avatar, but I didn't even watch Avatar 2.
No,
I don't think Avatar 1 was,
either.
at the time, it was amazing for the technology, but I don't think it's, like, amazing. I don't know.
But sometimes with these films, how they are, they're like one-offs, and you think,
Yeah,
I
why
don't
ruin
understand why. Where are you getting another story from? Because it was a story on its own, and
Another film which was announced, which we did know about, because I remember I talked about this on a podcast about 2 months ago. I think it might have been the main podcast. Freaky Friday 2. Which I'm actually quite excited for.
Yeah.
Because they're all back. They're all the main ones back. And it was released. It was a podcast I did with Katie. And I was like, what do you think the plot was going to be? Because it can't be that they swap again. But I don't know if you remember at the end of Freaky Friday, there's like a weird hint the grandpa and the young boy, her brother, were going to swap. So I don't know if it's going to be something like that. So like maybe her kid and someone else swap, or so I don't think it'll be the original two swapping again. I think it's going to be someone else swapping.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're all the main things that have been announced at D24. I don't think it's that exciting. Like,
No, Acolyte being cancelled is annoying.
But they didn't even announce it there.
Because that was really good. Really enjoyed that.
So in the last few weeks alone, we've had The Acolyte being cancelled and My Lady Jane, which are both TV shows I really got into.
Yeah.
And both were left in a way that we needed another series. I think...
What is it that's causing them to be cancelled?
I don't know.
Are the viewing numbers really low, or...?
Well, no, because that makes no sense, because both of them are streaming services. So The Acolyte is Disney, and then My Lady Jane was Amazon Prime. And My Lady Jane, I remember when it was first announced, I thought, this is ridiculous. And then I watched it, and the best way to explain it is it's like Ella Enchanted. It's that sort of borderline silliness. And I really enjoyed it, but it kind of left it on a cliffhanger, like we don't really know what's going to happen next. Only because... even though we know what happens to Lady Jane, it's obviously a fantasy, so she might not die. But they're not really saying reasons. I think it's just a lot of shows, especially on these big, like Netflix and Disney, expect them to be hit straight away, and they're not. And they don't look at it in the same way as we did with streaming in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, where you had to slowly build up TV shows, because sometimes it took to the third, fourth series for people to start watching it, and then they would buy the box set and watch it. Look at Breaking Bad and The Walking Dead; they slowly got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Well, look at Friends. That wasn't a hit the first series, but now it's like a cult following.
Yeah. But Netflix has renewed The Gentleman for a second series.
Good.
So they made the right decision with that, I guess. Mm-hmm. But then, I don't know. I'm just kind of getting annoyed at how many TV shows you kind of get into it and then it goes. And I think a lot of people are just saying this is why so many people don't watch TV shows straight away until there's 2-3 seasons.
Yeah.
Because why would I bother watching a TV show now where within another 3 months of me watching it, it's going to be cancelled?
You get invested in it, and yeah.
It's quite funny though, because people are saying that The Boys have been cancelled. It hasn't. It's ending on series 5. That's different. We know it's going to end on series 5. They only ever intended 5 seasons. They don't want to overdo it. So that's another. Otherwise, there's not really anything else that I think is worth saying, oh, that got cancelled, because either I don't care or whatever. But you said about Mindhunter, because you said that got cancelled and a lot of people were annoyed about that, but you're saying that there might be discussion that it's coming back.
They're on about, they did two series, and now they're on about bringing it back, because that everyone's been going, why Why was it cancelled? It was the best series ever. So maybe they do. I don't know. I don't understand. We're not in the rooms, are we? So we don't know what discussions
Yeah,
happened
I
as
know,
to why
yeah.
these
But
these things that are watched and followed and have fan bases, why they suddenly get cancelled.
yeah, but it's like we do know a lot. So like at the moment we know that, by the way, House of Dragons is apparently only going to have 4 seasons. That's also been announced.
Okay.
So it's going to stop after series 4. Handmaid's Tale has now been told is going to have a series 6, and that's the end of that. Which that series has actually been going on much longer than I thought it was going to go on. I didn't really realise there was so much more material to it.
No, I've not really watched it, and I've never read the books, so I don't know how far that goes. So,
and then The Good Omen has also getting a series 3, and that's it. It will end on series 3.
Okay.
Which I don't know if it needed a series 2 after that series 2. I wasn't that keen on it. I don't know. It was a bit of a weird one. So hopefully they just wrap it up well. Also, this weekend, Venice Film Festival has started, which is obviously such a great film festival. So many like big films. The first film, so it's only really just opened with Beetlejuice, which has had mixed reviews, but I'm not going to take them yet because I find that a lot of Venice film festival reviewers are very critical. So you'll find that they'll suddenly get like films like this, like which are made for a wider audience, will get a bad review, and then it will suddenly go really high with fan reviews. So The Guardian, for example, has basically said it was a retro joyride and only gave it 2 out of 5. And they basically just said it wasn't needed. And then I saw another thing that basically just said it failed to be like the original. But Tim has also spoke out about it quite a lot, as in Tim Burton, the director, saying that he really wanted to make it about the 3 generations, because a lot of people were saying about like the original ghosts aren't in it anymore.
But the way the world is now, we need something, and retro's really in, and people sometimes just want a little bit of nostalgia. So why does it matter?
I think also it's such an interesting film to have opened Venice Film Festival, I think. But it got a standing ovation, which is always great when it gets us. It didn't get like the 10-minute that a lot of really in-depth films get. I think it got 3 to 5, which still is.
I see Angela Jolie's at the festival.
Yeah, so she's at the festival,
and she's just had a 10-minute for a film that she's in.
That's what I mean. I think Venice is. I think what I enjoy about Venice Film Festival is it's still quite an elitist festival, that it's very glamorous with the costume, like the outfits people wear, and it's a presenting of art, and it really lets a lot of films like Beetlejuice, which has just done a premiere in London and like LA and stuff, and it's a big fan service. It is also showing it as what it is, as an art piece. Like every single film or TV show gets made is an art piece. A few other things that I thought I would just quickly say, that I actually thought 2 of them I think you're quite excited over, and then that's it. There's not really anything else to say for this month, which is quite sad. Ted Lasso is officially coming back.
How?
They are making another series.
How?
They are. They've announced it. Apple have started it up. They are making another series.
Oh no!
Oh really? I guess they did.
Honestly,
end it in a
Ted
good way.
Lasso's up there.
I know.
I loved it, but it was finished in such a brilliant way.
Yeah.
And tied up so brilliantly.
Yeah, it felt like you could move on, because otherwise they could have just kept going and going and going. And I do remember us saying that.
That was what was so amazing about it.
They felt like they went, but no, there's been such an outcry for it to come back. They've ended up coming back.
From who?
Fans, I guess, and like so many people, they're all coming back. I think I've been seeing most people come back. The only person who isn't, forgot the actor's name, but Jamie Tartt. He's not coming back.
Well, one of them can't come back. He's going around the world at the minute. Celebrity around the world.
That's such an English British little nuance as well. God, he's going across the world on that TV show right now.
Oh dear.
It's kind of like Also, I have told you this already, but Yellow Jackets is filming right now. They have been filming for a few weeks, I believe.
Excellent.
So that will be coming back. I believe it'll be like late next year. So hopefully that'll be great. There's a lot.
Slow Horses is coming back soon as well.
Slow Horses is coming back soon, but that's been wrapped up, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
fine. I think they must have filmed that back to back because I swear the last series was this year. Another thing that I'm very excited for, and this is going to make me seem like a really big kid, is Wizards of Waverly Place is coming back on Disney, which was a TV show I used to watch religiously as a kid because it was on Disney Channel. I don't know if you really remember it.
No.
I mostly watched Sky when I was at Dad's, and Alex Russo, who's the main character, Selena Gomez, icon, and for a really long time she was my spirit animal because she's so sarcastic and she's so funny, and it would be like, right, that someone would be like, you've got to run this way, she'd be like, oh, I don't run. It would just be like the most iconic lines came from it. But I'm not mad at a lot of these TV shows, like So Raven came back a few years ago, for example, and I don't mind them coming back because they do it for the next generation. So it's going to be her brother Justin, and he's now kind of the father role, and he's teaching the kids, because that's what Waverly Place was about. It was the dad with 3 kids, and they're all wizards, and they're getting taught stuff, and mischief happens, and anyway. And then I did say about Final Destination, but you've already said that. So is it number 5 that's coming?
No, 5's been
and gone.
So this is a new
6.
one. But if you watch them all right from the 1 to 5, 5 sort of completes the circle.
Yeah, I have seen.
So I don't know how.
Oh, so is it going to be called The Next Chapter?
Something like that, yeah.
So maybe they're just rebooting it then. If it's going to be like a new.
They are clever films.
So it says it will come in next year, but it hasn't got an official release date yet. Well, that'd be interesting. Anyway, that is it for this month, which feels like such a short podcast. Usually we go for like 2 hours, and we've gone for an hour. It's just there's nothing to talk about.
No.
Apart from Oasis, which is, again, such an English thing. So we're at the moment in our life, Oasis, who is a band that have been broken up for, 15 years?
Yeah.
I've just got back together, and ticket sales are going on tomorrow. Yeah. That's the most exciting thing that's happening in the UK. Other than that, you can't smoke in pub gardens anymore.
Well, not yet. But
Not yet. That's coming in. So it's been a bit of a bleak month, I think. Anyway,
weather's been nice though.
Weather's been nice. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. I've been Liv. You can find us on Film Critic Life on pretty much all platforms. So that's Instagram and TikTok, and obviously Spotify and YouTube. But myself, I've been Liv Egmore, and you find me at Livy May H at Instagram. I would pass this over to my mum, but I don't know if she's gonna really want people to follow her on Instagram and TikTok
because I don't put anything on.
But thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have had a good month, and we'll see you next month.
Bye.